If you've been doing the inner work, but you still see yourself in the same situation and you're still reacting the same way, this video is for you. Let's take some examples from a founder. Your A player leaves, you can see your negative reaction from it. You gain awareness, you could see yourself starting to go down this spiral, but still you have an argument with this A player. You're upset that they've left, and now you're having an argument with them, and you've made it harder for them to come back. Another example, you've signed a big client. This is a massive win for you. This is the biggest client you've ever signed. You can see your emotional state starting to rise. You gain awareness on it, but still you could see this massive reaction to this feeling that you had from signing the big client. So you work really hard to go and sign another big client, and then you end up burning out instead of just sticking to your regular plan. And to make it more personal, on the personal side of things, you're driving home from a long day of work. There's a roadblock which adds 20 minutes onto your journey. You can see yourself starting to get angry. You have awareness of that anger, but still, when you get home, you shout at the kids or you shout at your partner, even though it's not really their fault. So, why does this happen? If you've got the awareness, why were the actions still the same? It's because in the moment, your state can override your intentions. So this video is going to teach you how to change your behavior consciously, because we know that subconsciously it can take a while to rewire. And so to have those immediate responses to things can take a while. We need to do a lot of inner work. We need to do a lot of programming in our brain. But if we've got this skill of having awareness and seeing ourselves, seeing our states change, seeing our emotions, how do we use that to our advantage so that we can build the biggest business possible, we can have the most loving family, we can enjoy ourselves, and we can actually see our situations improve and see our inner state improve too. First thing to introduce you to is the map of consciousness, developed by David R. Hawkins. This map is so powerful for understanding the ways that people act depending on their energetic state. So if we have a look at the examples that we've just gone through, the A player, your employee who's been absolutely killing it, we will use desire for this one. There was a desire for this A player to stay. There was a desire for you two to be able to resolve whatever conflict there was, and for him to keep working and producing amazing results for your clients. However, when you had this call or this meeting with your A player, you weren't able to resolve it. They still wanted to leave. And so you ended up having this state of craving for them to stay and being disappointed with the ways that things have happened. You then broke down. You then got angry at them. And things did not go well. The A player will definitely not be returning to your business, and potentially you have ruined your reputation for other A players to come and join you too. So you can see the long-term effects of staying in this state. Number two, the big client that you were able to sign. There's a sense of pride about it. Okay? This feeling that you had, it made you feel good, it made you puff out your chest, it made you walk with a bit of swagger. You were able to share it with so many people, and it made you want to chase that feeling again. Okay? You had pride, you wanted to keep that sense of pride, and so you went hard. You tried really, really hard to try and get another client like that over the line. Problem is that one, you're pushing really hard, and so eventually that's going to lead to burnout. It's not sustainable. And two, if that result doesn't come, you can very quickly drop into shame, which is where you start retracting from people. You aren't sharing the things that are going on in your life, and your sense of self, you've gone from like this down to a sense like this, where you're hiding away from the world and you're not acting with the confidence and conviction that you had before. Okay, that's the danger of pride. And number three, the roadblock. Very easy one to see here. There was a state of anger. There was a lot of aggression. You were feeling quite vengeful. All of this anger built up inside of you. And when you walked in, maybe there was a toy train on the floor and you stepped on it and you shouted at your kids. When actually, if you'd had an amazing day and you were walking back home, you listened to your favorite songs, you're in a state of love, perhaps you could have stepped on that toy train and been like, oh, they're playing with the toy that I got them last week. That's so sweet. Instead of coming from anger and shouting at them because they hadn't cleaned it up. And now you've just set yourself up for a worse environment for the rest of your evening too. So we can see how our state is going to affect the way that we act. And so having awareness is not enough in the moment. We also want to consciously be able to transmute and move up through the states of consciousness, out of this survival paradigm where all of these things are called distortions, and into the reason and integrity and all of these states up here, which, by the way, there's not necessarily better, there's just different. But the distortions, they use a lot of energy from you. They make you see things in a way that are not beneficial for you. And they are going to make you react in ways that keep you trapped in the way that you are right now, which is why your situation has been staying the same, which is why you feel like the inner work isn't actually working, and why you seem to have awareness of the reasons why you act like you act, but you've not actually changed the way that you act, because there's some distortions going on here. To prove my point, let's have a look at some examples. The client sends you a negative text. They say they're not happy with this. They say they don't understand why this is happening, etc., etc. If you are coming from a place of shame, shame may make you retreat and may make you ignore the client, pretend that this problem isn't happening. You don't tell anyone about it. You try to hide it from your employees, and eventually the relationship breaks down with the client and you lose them just because you were coming from a place of shame, that you didn't like that they didn't have this reaction. If you were coming from a place of neutrality, you'd be able to reach out to that person. It's neither good nor bad whether about this text, it just is. You trust that the situation is going to work itself out. And so you're able to have a proper conversation, and you find out from the client that either there is a problem and you can resolve it, or there wasn't a problem and it's just that the client didn't understand why the work was how it was. If you then go higher than that and go into reason, and you start using your full understanding, your wisdom, you start to see the real reason that things are happening as opposed to just what it is on the surface level. You can do everything that you do in neutrality, and perhaps regardless of the outcome, you can find the reason that the client reacted like this. It doesn't actually matter what's gone on with the work. You can now set up a system that means that the client sees more value in the work. They can see what's being provided. They can understand why it's being provided without needing to constantly have these calls and to have to pick up the pieces after a client had the misunderstanding. And now your product and your service has got way better from this situation, which objectively could be looked at as negative. But actually, it's been a positive for you because you're able to act from a state of reason as opposed to a state of shame. What about in this situation? 8th rejection in a row on a sales call. As founders, we know that this happens. Sometimes it can be due to poor timing. Sometimes it can be because you're just not on it. Sometimes it can just be the luck of the draw. And sometimes it's just you get unqualified people. It's been unlucky. All right. There's a amount of reasons that you might have this, but we can react to it very differently. One person might feel apathetic. They might start to feel like, what's the point of going on these sales calls? What's the point of doing all my marketing? Everyone just says no anyway. And by the time they get onto their next sales call, they're coming in and they're all just sort of like, oh, well, that was even the point. They jump on the ladder. You all right? Yeah, so why do you want to jump on the call today? Okay. You feeling this? The energy is just like, what's the point of doing it? Compared to if you were able to come up into, say, acceptance, and you accept that there are going to be bad times in sales. There are going to be good times in sales. Having the 8th rejection in a row does not mean anything about what the 9th call is going to be. And you know that this system has worked before. So you jump onto the 9th call, not worrying about whether it's going to be a good call or a bad call, but just sticking to the system. And you can jump on. You're like, hey, where are you calling from? From here. Oh, I remember last summer I was da-da-da-da. So let's jump straight into it. What was the reason that you wanted to jump on this call with me? All right, nice. Let's see if I can help you out. Can you break that down a bit more for me? And you start to go through your process properly. Similarly to the first one, really. If we're in the distortion of desire, and now we were really craving and trying to chase this 9th call, and we're like, cool, these eight calls, they didn't work out. I'm going to make sure the 9th one is the one that sorts it. So we're not in acceptance of it doesn't matter whether it goes right or wrong, but we're not in apathy of accepting that it's going to go wrong. In desire, we're trying to force a yes out of someone. And this is where commission breath comes in. This is when you start to react on your sales call, and you're a bit more pushy. You're a bit more trying to force the sale through. you're not really trying to help someone. You're more focused on trying to get money from someone. And that energy comes across and people can feel it. They can feel the commission breath. And it makes you lose your ninth cause too. Another one, similar to the third one, a bit more of a personal situation. Your partner is upset that you haven't done your chores again. And so if you were guilty, you could start to get defensive, and you could be like, oh yeah, well, I didn't take the bins out because I had this and this and this going on, and I had a really hard day at work, and blah, 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 blah. And actually, you didn't do this. And you start getting vindictive and defensive about why you didn't take the bins out. You maybe start throwing back in their face there, oh, but you know, the kitchen counters weren't wiped yesterday, so why is it such a problem if you start to have a big argument? That's a problem. You've now just made the rest of your evening so much worse. Whereas if you came from a state of love, you could sit there, you could apologize, you could talk to your partner about how you understand how this isn't just a small action of taking the bins out. This is actually a statement on the view of the relationship, the way that you split jobs up, both of your value that you've agreed on in living in a beautiful house that is clean and is tidy and allows for a lot of creativity and love and just peace of sitting in a beautiful space, right? You can say sorry. You can probably say it's not going to happen again. You can hug, make up, and you can have a great rest of the night. So, what's changed? Did the situations change or did the state change? All right, the state changed. And so if we are able to release the distortions when we get the awareness of them, then we will be able to get into courage and above, and we can start to change the way that we react. Now, changing our state, the inner work does help a lot. I'm sure you've been doing it already. The meditation, the reflecting, the journaling, the Reiki, whatever practice that feels good for you. I'm sure you've been working on trying to fulfill your inner self, to try and connect with that divine spirit, to try and heal your past traumas, etc. But it can take a while for your subconscious to get into the state of this situation has happened and I react in this desired way. That could take a while to reprogram. That could take a while to get to the point where you've released this emotional trigger, which is so deep inside of you and your body, to the point where it doesn't matter anymore. And your body is able to see a roadblock and it can just pass through instead of having this emotional trigger. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 of the states, most common states that I find founders are in that blocks them from doing the things that they want to do. If you would like a full list of how to deal with every single one in the moment, consciously, then comment transmute at the bottom of the video. So let's start off with anger. Anger is quite common for a lot of founders. Angry that this hasn't gone right, angry that their employee isn't doing the work the way that they wanted it to be done, angry that they aren't making more money. There's a lot of anger that could go around in business. It's high stakes, there's a lot of stress, and a lot of that can come out in terms of anger. Now, obviously, the ideal situation would be able to let the anger flow through us, to see it, accept it. Emotions last 7 to 9 seconds, and we can allow the anger to flow through us and then be back in level-headed mode and be able to act in the way that we want. However, that is not always possible. So let's think about the ways that you react when you get angry, because there are some healthy ways of releasing anger that don't involve shouting or hitting other people, but perhaps it's hitting your pillow, perhaps it's having a stress ball, perhaps it's hitting the boxing bag, perhaps it's going to the gym, going on a run. For some people as well, which isn't as healthy, it could be doing drugs or having a drink, having a smoke, whatever it is. It's this idea of it's a aggressive, physical, mindful action. Aggressive, physical, mindful action. This can help you to release your anger. You can feel it. Like if you clench your fists and tighten them as hard as you can and just keep squeezing, keep squeezing, keep squeezing, you could start to feel this energy that feels a lot like anger inside of you. And then if you just spread your fingertips, open your palms out wide, you can start to feel all of that energy release, because energy can get trapped inside of the body. And so sometimes it can work a lot to be able to just hit something, to scream and shout, and to release that tension from your body. And that can start to release this anger, which allows you to then move up and transmute your energy into those higher states of consciousness. Now, here's a method which you can always use if there's not a boxing bag near you for you to punch and kick and whatever. You can start to have fun with it. So my friend, a lot of his anger, or his most common source of anger, comes from this new puppy that he's got that is eating up all of his furniture and books and things that he leaves around. So he can get angry at it, and he could run off to the gym to let off his anger. Might be more difficult in his home, or he can start to play with the situation. And by that I mean he could either find a lemon, throw a lemon on the floor, and wait for his dog to bite that, and find it funny when his dog eats the lemon and the face that it makes. Or he could get on the floor, pretend to be a dog, and start ripping up the dog's toys. And be like, how do you like that? How do you like that? He's just being silly with it. He's playing with the situation. All right, doing something completely off script. Because your body is going down this spiral of like, oh, this has happened, that pisses me off, and now I'm going to do this, that went against my expectations. Oh, what's so annoying? You just keep doing it. Whereas if you like start to catch yourself going down, and then you just put yourself on a completely different trajectory, I see your anger, it has nothing more to latch onto. Okay, you're not perpetuating the emotion, and now in 7 to 9 seconds, you should be able to feel that emotion flow through your body. So that's anger. Mindful, aggressive, physical action that can start to dissipate your anger, and playing with the situation, turning it into a joke, having some fun with it. The sillier, the better. Another state that a lot of founders get caught in is desire. The desire for the record revenue month, the desire for hiring a new employee, the desire for winning this award that they've put themselves forward for. There's always things that you want. It's very something which has been ingrained in a capitalist society, which founders probably feel more than most people. There's always more. There's always better. There's always higher. The numbers just keep going up. It's infinite. All right, a lot of desire in business. The thing with desire, as I spoke about before, instead, the difference between wanting and a desire is that wanting has no emotional charge. Desire has an emotional charge. It means you have an attachment to something. And as you've been doing some spiritual work, I'm sure you know the importance of unattachment. So a desire to release that attachment. If we can feel ourselves in the moment, we've signed this big client, we can feel happy. I'm not saying to become a robot, but we then don't want to get stuck in this state of consciousness of like, that feeling was amazing. I want to hold on to it. I want to feel that again. I want to keep feeling it. That's the point where we can feel the attachment. And to release it, we can imagine if this desire not only didn't happen, but went in the opposite direction. So if I was aiming to hit a 7-figure year, and all I needed was to add on an extra 10K a month of revenue over the next 6 months, I could then feel myself like, right, and so I'm going to need to work harder, and I need to spend all this time working on my systems. I'm going to need to hire it. I can feel this desire coming through and all of this extra work and effort that I'm trying to put on myself. I can sit, I can imagine if I took 10K a month off of my total at the minute and see how that feels. And I can work through and I can see like, actually my friends still love me, my family still love me. I wouldn't have to fire anyone. It would mean that I would spend a little bit less. So maybe I don't go on my 5th holiday of the year. Maybe I don't eat out 5 nights a week, and actually I just save it for once a week and I cook some nice food for myself. It would be a different experience, but it's not necessarily a bad experience. I was very happy and living a very privileged life at that point, as I am now. And when you can release that emotional charge and it starts to feel okay with going in the opposite direction to what it was before, that's when you know you've started to become unattached. And that's how we can start to release our state of desire, by imagining the opposite of what we're changing and waiting for that situation to feel okay. The third state that not many probably realize that they operate in is guilt. And founder guilt can come from not being able to raise prices, from not being able to delegate work. And I recorded this video, I had to re-record it. And there was a third one, which I really liked, but we'll see if it comes back to me. If you can't raise your prices, it's probably because you feel, doing free work is the third one. And both of these link. Doing the free work and not being able to raise your prices comes from a place of guilt, feeling that you're not good enough. a feeling that you are taking too much from the other person. You can literally look at your numbers and see that actually my clients are getting a really good ROI. I'm getting a really high close rate. Everything is pushing me to raise my prices, but it feels weird to say a higher price on a sales call. It feels weird to text my clients and say that the price is going from 2K a month to 4K a month. It feels wrong. It feels like I'm doing an injustice to these people. That's guilt. The not being able to delegate can come from a place of, well, I don't want to feel like I'm above them or they're below me. I don't want them to feel that. I don't want them to think that I'm being lazy, and so I'm going to keep doing some of the work. And actually, all you're probably doing is patronizing them because they want to feel empowered. They want to feel like they are trusted to do this work, and you're just standing on top of them. Okay, it's a place of guilt that you don't think you're good enough to hand off this work and to be able to move on to the next thing. So with guilt, again, the ideal situation is that we can accept everything, but it takes a while to rewire our subconscious. It takes a while to release these big energetic blocks that we have in our body. And so in the moment, if we feel our guilt, we want to act without justification. And so if we are raising our prices, it's texting our clients and saying the price is going from 2K a month to 4K a month at the start of June. Full stop. Instead of the price is going from 2K to 4K a month in June, it's because this has gone up, it's because of the state of the economy, it's because blah, 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 we're adding in all of this value, da, 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 and feeling like you have to justify all of your actions. That's how you remove the guilt. It's in the sales calls when you say it's 4K a month, and then you say, why is it 4K a month? And instead of having to go on this long ramble of trying to justify the price, it's because you're able to sit there and say, like, because that's the price. Okay? Now, a reminder, if you would like a video and a document which will give you more tactics on how to be able to remove these distortions, please comment transmute on this video, and it will show you how to get out of not just anger, desire, and guilt, but shame, apathy, grief, fear, and pride too. I hope this helped.